Am I the asshole for messaging my husband's mistress's husband? Let me take you back to the beginning of my story. My husband, Adam, and I have been married for 4 years. 2 years ago, I stumbled upon a text message exchange between him and a coworker named Hannah. It had been going on for months, and while the messages weren't overtly incriminating, they hinted at a friendship that was clearly crossing a line. I confronted Adam about it, expressing my discomfort with their secretive communication. He assured me it was just a friendship, and that Hannah was married. I asked him to limit his contact with her and be more open with me, but despite my concerns, he continued to brush me off, insisting I was overreacting. 3 months ago, Adam finally admitted he had feelings for Hannah. He told me she was separating from her husband Joe, and had made comments that made him question their connection. He sobbed, saying he wanted to be with me, and that he was sorry for what he had done. I naively agreed to work on our marriage, but that only lasted a few weeks. When I discovered he was still in contact with Hannah, I felt betrayed all over again. One night while he was at his parents' house during a severe storm, I checked his phone and found messages where Hannah was flirting with him. My heart sank. I confronted Adam as soon as he returned home and told him I wanted a divorce. After that, I felt compelled to take action. I sent messages to his parents, his brother, and even Joe, detailing the emotional affair. I wanted Joe to know the truth, and I warned him about the potential consequences of Adam's actions. I also reached out to Hannah, letting her know that Adam was still leading her on while I was trying to save our marriage. Adam was furious. He accused me of compromising people's jobs and blowing up our lives. His mother called me, berating me for what I had done, and claiming I would have to live with the consequences. I felt a mix of emotions: anger, sadness, and a sense of betrayal. I didn't raise my voice. I simply apologized for upsetting her and blocked her number. I believed I was acting in a way that would protect everyone involved, especially Hannah. I warned her about the potential fallout and made it clear that I didn't want to punish anyone, but felt it was important for Joe to know the truth. So, am I the asshole for reaching out to my husband's mistress's husband? Update. My parents are changing their plans and are ruining my birthday. First of all, thank you to everyone who commented on my last post. Your support meant a lot to me. Today was my birthday, and I wanted to share what happened. My plans changed a bit when things with my friend fell through last minute. Instead of telling my parents, I decided to go to the animal shelter, something they don't really approve of, and spent a couple of hours walking dogs. As I was leaving the shelter to grab my birthday drink from Starbucks, I heard a little beagle whimpering. I asked the staff if I could take him with me, and they said yes. I got my drink, he got a pup cup, and we walked for a mile on some back roads. He was having the time of his life. We stopped at another coffee shop for another birthday drink and another pup cup before heading back. He rested his head in my lap on the way back to the shelter, and I felt so happy. After that, I treated myself to a third drink from a different coffee shop. Yay for free drinks. Then I visited my aunt, who was to babysit my brother. We went for a hike and watched the Olympics together. I did receive an angry text from my mom after she found out I wasn't with my friend. She was upset I hadn't updated her on my plans. I chose to ignore it. Later, my dad texted, asking if I could come home because my mom wanted to see me. I got home around 7:30. Mom wasn't thrilled, but she tried to keep it subtle. She didn't greet me and was pointed with her questions. She was upset I hadn't told her about my plans falling through earlier, as she would have taken me out to lunch. I didn't want that, but I didn't say anything. She also didn't seem pleased that I spent the day at the shelter. Thankfully, she didn't yell at me, which I appreciated. We watched more Olympics together, and then the conversation turned to coffee. My sister and I often go out for coffee, and sometimes I pay for both of us. Mom got upset about that, starting with the fact that I shouldn't pay since I'm the one driving us. Then it shifted to my future medical school debt and how coffee can add up over time. She got frustrated with my dad for suggesting that my sister and I could discuss our coffee arrangements like adults. She even called him a coward when he left the room. I was getting tired of the conversation, so I finally told her I would talk to my sister and we would pay for our own drinks from now on. Mom didn't seem satisfied, but she didn't push it further. I'm just worried she might get mad at my sister, who might then get upset with me for telling Mom about the drinks. It's a whole thing. Does all this make sense? My aunt bought me my first ever drink tonight, and I've always been straight-laced, so I'm feeling a bit out of sorts. Nothing too serious, just a little drowsy, maybe from the excitement. But overall, I had a great day. I spent it the way I wanted and managed to avoid most confrontations. I'll take it. How will you solve my problem? Physically destroyed HDD. For a few years now, I've been the sysadmin at my company, handling first-level support. I've even written the IT manual, FAQ pages, tutorials, and regular reminders about IT and data security, topics my users often overlook. One of the crucial parts of our compliance policies is that we must physically destroy any storage devices we decommission. We back up our file servers daily, but we don't back up anything on the workstations. I remind my users about this regularly, especially when we issue new devices. So when my phone rang one day, I knew it was probably an emergency. "Hi there, what can I do for you?" I answered. "I need you to grant me access to a file right now. The CEO needs this report." I felt a twinge of frustration. "I'm sorry, but I can't give you access over the phone. Compliance policies require proper documentation and approval." "This is ridiculous. I had access before. You took it away." I couldn't help but think how absurd that sounded. "I'm really sorry, but I don't even know what you mean by access to that file. We organize access by folders. Can you tell me which folder it's in?" "Don't you listen? I need that file. Do something." "Again, I'm sorry, but it won't work this way. This is stupid. I'm coming down to you." She slammed the phone down. 15 minutes later, she stormed into my office, huffing and puffing, shoving a binder filled with color-printed screenshots in my face. "See? I had access. I need it now." I glanced at the 300 pages of printed screens from our CRM. She had printed every single menu option. "From what I see here, you're trying to access a file from My Documents. Those are local files on your PC. If it's not there, you might have accidentally deleted it." "No, it was always there. Grant me access now." "If you deleted it recently, I can try to recover it if you give me your laptop and a little time." "It was always there. It was on my old PC. Now it's gone. I need it." It took me a moment to process that. "You had that file on your old machine, the one we decommissioned over a year ago? And now you can't find it on your new machine?" "Yes. Get me my file. Now." The file was stored on the old machine. It was literally on that device, which was destroyed over a year ago. "So, get my file. I'm really good at my job, but I can't retrieve a file from a physically destroyed device." "Is it because I didn't open a ticket?" She sighed. "No, it's because it's impossible. I can't get you a file that was on a device that no longer exists." "So you don't want to help me? How do you solve this problem?" I was getting frustrated. "I can't help you. There's no way to assist you in this case." "I'm going right to the CEO," she declared. "Okay," I replied, feeling defeated. An hour later, a fellow IT colleague came to my office, laughing. He had been helping our CEO with an unrelated issue when she barged in, complaining about me. Our CEO has a very dry sense of humor. He listened to her, nodded, looked at her binder of screenshots, and then pulled up my tutorial on data storage. "It seems like you have a lot of work ahead of you if you want to finish the report on time. I suggest you get to it. Also, please use one of the folders provided to your department or your home folder to store the file next time." I couldn't help but chuckle at the irony. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the hardest for people to grasp. Wibta, if I don't attend my friend's baby shower because they said my pregnancy was an accident and that I didn't deserve it. 2 years ago, when I was pregnant with my first child, I felt a heavy weight on my heart. I knew I had to keep my pregnancy journey discreet because 2 of my friends, a married couple, were struggling with infertility. It was clear that my joy was their pain, and after every encounter, I could see the hurt in their eyes. They would cry themselves to sleep, and I didn't want to add to their sorrow. So, I held back, avoiding discussions about my pregnancy and the excitement that came with it. It was painful for me too, as I longed to celebrate this beautiful moment, but I didn't want to hurt them. Unfortunately, they spoke to others and made hurtful comments, saying things like, "The child was an accident, and they don't deserve a child as much as us." Those words cut deep. I had dreamed of starting my own family for so long, especially coming from a broken one myself. I remember crying myself to sleep, wishing things could be different. I tried to reassure my fiancé that they were just hurting, but their lack of acknowledgement when we introduced our baby to our friend group was crushing. They acted as if my child didn't exist. That night, I cried again, the next time they brought a gift, but there was no apology. Now, they are expecting their own child, possibly twins. They shared the news with us first, and I congratulated them, giving them a small gift. I wanted to be supportive, but inside, I felt a sinking feeling. They would celebrate this moment loudly, while I had to hold back my own joy for their sake. I'm seriously considering not attending their baby shower. It's not out of pettiness. It's because the thought of celebrating with them hurts too much. I know I need to stand my ground and explain my feelings, but it feels wrong to not support them as a friend. I've read many comments on this situation, and it has helped me realize that my feelings are valid. My fiancé fully supports my decision not to attend, and we both know we need to express our reasons to them. It won't be easy, as they may twist it to make us seem unsupportive to others. I won't ghost them, but I also won't be as present in their lives. I can already sense they will compare our children just as they have with other aspects of our lives. It's exhausting. My fiancé has tried to maintain a relationship for my sake, even though he's hurt too. I'm grateful for his support. It's tough to let go of friendships, especially when making new ones can be challenging, but I know my family comes first. I'm heartbroken over this situation, but I'm thankful for the support I've received. I wish everyone a beautiful life ahead. Me, a 30-year-old man with my 24-year-old wife, found ourselves in a heated argument over Thanksgiving dinner. My wife wanted to bring egg rolls to our family gathering, and I was taken aback. Every year, my family hosts a big traditional Thanksgiving dinner, and I always look forward to it with my wife and our child. While I was on the phone with my mom, my wife suggested bringing egg rolls for the dinner. She thought it would be nice for her mom, who doesn't eat American food, to have something she would enjoy. After hanging up, I talked to my wife. I told her that I didn't mind having other food, and I genuinely wanted her mom to feel included. But I felt we couldn't just bring egg rolls. The essence of a potluck is for everyone to contribute to the traditional meal, and I planned to bring pies as well. This sparked a big fight. My wife argued that it was ignorant of me to want only American food. I tried to explain that I didn't want to exclude other cuisines, but I felt it was important to respect our family's traditions. My family is primarily Asian American, yet we still celebrate Thanksgiving with American dishes. My wife asked, why can't Thanksgiving just be about coming together and enjoying the foods we love? I agreed, but I insisted that contributing to the potluck in a way that honors our traditions was important to me. In the end, we reached a compromise. She would bring the egg rolls along with other dishes, and I would bring pies and stuffing. However, she was still upset. Later, I realized I might have been overreacting. My wife and I talked, and recognized that our argument was about more than just food. It connected to my feelings about my parents, especially my stepdad, who has been critical of her in the past. I realized that my stress about Thanksgiving was manifesting as frustration towards my wife. After a heartfelt conversation with her, I called my mom and shared my feelings. She reassured me that what mattered most was having a good time together, regardless of the food. We both apologized for letting the situation escalate and agreed to focus on enjoying the holiday together. I'm still bringing pies and stuffing, but now it feels more about my own tradition than a requirement. What truly matters is that my wife and her mom feel welcome and included. My wife, 32F of 3 years, is meeting up with some guy I don't know. I recently noticed my wife joined a gym. She's not overweight and had never mentioned wanting to join before, but a few months ago she said she fancied it, and off she went. Lately, I noticed a guy regularly liking her Facebook comments. It wasn't just the odd like, it was a lot. I didn't recognize him, and I know most of her friends. One day, while using her phone, a message popped up from him. I opened it and saw their previous conversations. Same time tomorrow, X. I'll pick you up around 4, X. And so on. There wasn't anything explicit, but each message ended with an X, and she had never mentioned him before. I was confused and didn't know what to think. I didn't want to confront her outright, so I took some advice and went to the gym after she left. But she wasn't there. In fact, she wasn't even a member. Despite my worries, she was acting completely normal. She seemed happy and was still affectionate. Next time she went, I planned to ask if I could join her as she got into the car. A few days later, as she was getting into the car, I said, "Hang on, I'm coming too. I've been thinking about losing weight, and you wouldn't want to be married to someone out of shape like me." She laughed and said, "You're not out of shape, but it would be great if you joined. We could do the sauna stuff together." We drove in a completely different direction from the gym. I asked her about the local gym, and she laughed again, saying it was really expensive. Then she pulled over, and a guy named Steve, built like a boxer, climbed into the car with another guy. As soon as they got in, all my worries disappeared. Steve was as camp as they come and started flirting with me. Later, I asked my wife about him on Facebook, and she said if I said I emptied the bin, he'd like it. I showed her my Reddit posts, and she laughed, asking why I didn't just ask her who he was. She found it funny that I went to the wrong gym. They attend the same box fit class, and sometimes she picks him up on the way. In the end, everything was fine. I felt a bit silly for checking up on her, but she just laughed it off. We don't usually go into detail about who we're with or where we're going. I can go back to using my proper account now. Thanks to everyone who offered advice. My new coworker is the guy who naked manned me on a Zoom date. Life has thrown me a cruel yet hilarious plot twist, and I'm honestly at a loss for how to handle it. Back in 2020, during the height of the pandemic, I did what many singles did. I went on virtual dates through apps. One date stands out in my memory. I was chatting with a guy when, out of nowhere, he started taking his clothes off. There was no warning, no flirty vibe, just him disrobing. We had been making dinner in our respective kitchens and discussing our interests, but suddenly he took off his shirt while I was talking about my family. I paused and asked, what's going on here? He shrugged it off and said he was going to relocate. I thought it was odd, but kept talking, assuming maybe he was just quirky. Then, he walked back to his bedroom and dropped his basketball shorts right in front of the camera. I quickly suggested that perhaps clothing should stay on, but he ignored me and continued discussing his family. At that point, I decided to exit the conversation with a hasty, "It's late, gotta go," fearing I might witness something I didn't want to see. I never spoke to him again until my first day at my new job. Just 2 minutes before my team introduction call, I checked the org chart and realized that not only was he in my organization, but he was also on my immediate team. I played it cool during the call, pretending I didn't know him, and thankfully, he seemed to do the same. Unfortunately, I would have to work with him somewhat, as he was the most tenured member of the team. I found myself wondering how I should handle this. Should I tell someone? Do I confront him? Fast forward 6 months, and I took your advice to play ignorant. During my second week, I ended up having lunch with him to avoid any awkwardness. My manager was really pushing for team lunches. Aside from him standing a little too close while we waited in line, I managed to keep things professional throughout the hour. He didn't mention our past encounter, but I could sense he was aware of it from some of his comments. As time went on, I noticed some concerning behavior from my manager. He made offhand comments that left me feeling uneasy. For instance, during a project call, he told me, "You can't think like you, Miss Pride and Prejudice on your shelf." I had been quiet, but his comment was completely out of the blue. Another time, I excitedly shared that I had gotten tickets to see a very popular artist, and he interrupted with, "So it was just you and a stadium of teenage girls?" And, "We pay you too much if you can afford that." Eventually, I confronted him about his comments, expressing my concerns about respect and trust. He claimed they were just jokes and insisted I should have known that. During our discussion, I decided to share the naked man story with him. He was stunned, but thanked me for being honest and said he would keep that in mind when assigning projects. True to his word, I didn't have to work closely with the naked manning coworker, and I felt relieved to keep my distance. Since I confronted my manager, he has been much more respectful. Recently, the naked manning coworker was laid off, and while I felt a twinge of guilt, it was a relief to know I wouldn't have to deal with that situation anymore. It felt like a weight had been lifted, knowing I had one less poorly behaved person to navigate daily at work. Update. My mom tried to have my breasts removed. Hey everyone, I wanted to start by saying I'm safe, happy, and healthy. I'm connected with a great therapist, and I recently read I'm Glad My Mom Is Dead by Jeanette McCurdy. What a courageous woman. I was blown away by the response to my post yesterday. I expected to just scream into the void, so it was heartwarming to see all the supportive comments. There truly is good in the world. To give you some background, this story took place when I was 15, and now I'm 34, happily married for 5 years and together for 17. I have 2 beautiful children and will be going back to college this September to pursue a degree in social work to help others with their trauma. The birth of my oldest son 4 years ago changed me. He gave me the strength to go no contact with my mother. I couldn't allow my children to experience even a moment of the life I had with her. She will have access to my kids only over my dead body, and the same goes for everyone who loves us. There were many factors that led to my decision to cut ties. My mother's toxic obsession with controlling my body was just one aspect of our tumultuous relationship. Unfortunately, things got worse before they got better. To highlight the issues we faced, there were her unprovoked beatings throughout my life, her obsessive control over my physical appearance, psychological torment, and her habit of bringing pets into our lives, only to harm them. Just to clarify, we were a middle-class family in Canada in the 90s and early 2000s, not a farm. These were dogs, cats, bunnies, and birds. At 16, I ran away with the help of my high school boyfriend and friends. They snuck me out in an older brother's car, rotating me between their houses while my parents banged on doors, threatening police involvement. In Canada, once a child turns 16, they can't be forced to return home, and my friend's parents made that clear.
I worked to support myself and tried not to be a burden.
However, my parents tracked me down when I was 17. They showed up at my door with my cat and threatened to harm her, so I returned home. Nothing had changed, but this time I had a car to escape whenever I needed. I had a job, bought my own food and clothes, chopped all my hair off, and bleached it platinum. I also started standing up for myself. The first time I hit back was the last time she laid a hand on me. To satisfy her sadistic side, she ramped up the psychological torture, which took much longer to recover from. I left for the final time at 18 and put myself through college. I met my now husband there, and we moved far away. What inspired me to write this post is a new development in our no-contact situation. My mother always expected us to support her financially in old age. This is not our cultural expectation. She had always done the bare minimum to support herself, while my father ran various scams to maintain their lifestyle. That's a story for another day. Now that my mother is getting older and nearing retirement, I know the guilt and pressure will soon come down hard on my brother and me to support her so she doesn't die in a ditch. Unlike her, I genuinely care about others being cold or hungry. My heart and mind are at odds. I know she doesn't deserve my help. We live in Canada with Social Security, and I know she won't face dire consequences without our financial support. Anything I give her would come directly out of my children's mouths, and that's unacceptable. Yesterday, I thought I'd start sharing some stories, hoping that writing them down would remind me of how truly awful she is. If a few people reinforce that, even better. I can't tell you how much it's helped to hear so many people share their thoughts about her. I want to finish by saying I'm heartbroken to see how many people can relate to my story. I'm truly sorry for what you've been through. I'll think of your stories on the days when I feel overwhelmed while pursuing my degree. You are exactly the people I want to surround with care and support. You didn't deserve the mistreatment, and I hope you found love and light. Finally, to the few who chose to victim blame, let me explain why I never called for help as a child. I was a child, and she was my mother. I thought she loved me. I had no idea how bad it was. Please feel free to share your opinions in my messages, but I kindly ask you to refrain from commenting where others are sharing their stories. Start a dialogue and ask real questions instead of making statements. You might learn something when you sit down with a stranger instead of jumping to conclusions. If the world is teaching us anything right now, it's to choose love over hate. I have no idea who you are. At class reunion, my high school class had our 25th reunion over Labor Day weekend. It had been years since our last get-together, which was only lightly attended 5 years after graduation. We attended a small college prep school with just 72 students, so everyone knew each other. There weren't many cliques, and for the most part, high school was fine for my best friend John and me. However, there was one guy, Tom, who always seemed to be a nuisance. He wasn't a bully in the traditional sense, but he loved to make jokes at the expense of the smarter kids. He pulled pranks, like creating fake invitations to a non-existent party at my parents' house or spreading rumors about John. Fast forward to now. John has done incredibly well for himself, founding a company in his late 20s and raising funds for local charities. He even spearheaded the construction of a STEM center that bears his name, giving him a public profile in our community. Tom, on the other hand, has always been a flashy self-promoter. He tried his hand at being a white rapper, then jumped into car sales, real estate, and various investment schemes that raised red flags. He even reached out to me multiple times with dubious investment opportunities, which I ignored. Last weekend, John hosted part of the reunion at his home, and about 50 alumni along with their spouses and kids showed up. We settled on a side patio to catch up, enjoying drinks and reminiscing. Mid-evening, Tom approached us, eager to reconnect with John. John remained polite but soon grew uncomfortable as Tom launched into a pitch about cryptocurrency. John interrupted him, saying, "I'm sorry, I didn't catch who you are here with. Is your wife one of our classmates?" Tom looked taken aback. "No, man, I'm Tom. We were classmates. Don't you remember I used to razz you?" John scratched his head and replied, "I think I remember our class pretty well, but I don't recall you at all." Then, with a serious tone, he gestured to the event planner nearby. "Listen, I get approached all the time because of my business, but this is my home and a private event." He turned to the planner and said, "Hey, can you verify the guest list? I'm not sure what's going on here." "Thanks." Ashley smiled politely at Tom and said, "Right this way, sir. We just need to verify your ID against the guest list. I hope you understand." Tom followed her, clearly flustered. John sat back down, giving me a wink. "It's unfortunate," he said. "I have to be careful." Someone else chimed in. "Yeah, that was Tom. He was in our class." John shrugged. Must not have interacted with him much. About 20 minutes later, Tom returned with a classmate who had organized the reunion and had been friends with him in high school. She said, "I hear you said you don't remember Tom. He was in our class for all 4 years. He played on the football team." John shrugged again. "I'm sorry. Sometimes people just fail to leave an impression on me. I hope you enjoy my home and have a lovely weekend." He then turned to his wife, saying, "Now let's go check on the important people and make sure the kids are having fun." A few minutes later, John texted me, "That was fun.